time we start this up, I start laughing. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Slice of Pie Tipsy Tuesday. I am super excited. Jay, first of all, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh my God. I think we met months ago, and ever since we first talked, I have been dying to have this conversation with you. So I have my little intro that I'm going to read because I do not want to mess anything up. I want the people to know who I'm talking to, okay? I do want to make sure everyone knows I did dress up for this guest, my Hermes and my cashmere ready for this.
Look, I feel bad because I just put a polo on. I didn't know we was getting fancy, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to sit back and play it cool.
I had to put it together for Jay. All right. So first of all, honestly, thank you for being here. I mean, I know that there's a lot of things that you do within your space as a luxury. I feel like it's more than luxury real estate advisor. You're a consultant. You're a practitioner. You're just, we'll get into more details about what you do in your day role. But I also recognize you as a U.S. Army veteran. So I do want to say thank you for your service to you and your family. We seriously appreciate everything that you've done. And when I was going through on your site, and by the way, I dropped the link in the chat. Y'all need to go ahead and check out the site, okay? One of the things that caught my eye was the mention that you became one of Charlotte. So this is Charlotte, North Carolina, y'all. Fancy, all right? We're fans. I'm a huge fan. Jay became one of Charlotte's most preferred agents by building a vast network of affluent buyers and selling. But the thing that hit my heart was that you were still working with your close circle of military comrades and first-time buyer and seller clients, which to me means that not only are you reaching into the luxury market, but you're still helping out those of us who are not there yet. And that says a whole lot about your character. So I just want to, I'm going to drop, thank you. So thank you for your service. So
thank you.
I just want to call that out. Thank you, Makisha, because seriously, that level of value setting. So I'm going to stop talking and just tell us a little bit more about, what do you do?
Man, well, it's really kind of hard to sum it all up and to put it into like a phrase or sentence, but overall, I feel like my role or my title is I'm just literally here to do what God put me here to do, and I think that it is literally to help bridge the gap wherever I can with those people that I meet and where they're trying to go. So that's part of the reason why I ended up joining the military. That's a majority of the reason why I got into real estate. And it's a primary reason why I started the nonprofit that I started, Lift the World. So overall, like I've done a ton of things. I've gotten a personal trainer certification. I've got my real estate license. I'm into music. Like I do a ton of different things, but overall, I like to say that I'm literally here to help bridge that gap. And real estate has actually helped me get that done because part of what I have to do in real estate is, well, majority of what I have to do in real estate is just networking. And so being able to discuss, not only what a person's goals are, but what they actually do and where they actually are at that current moment in life. And so I like to, advertise that I'm a luxury real estate advisor because I have experience in that area. But like you said, to mention that I also help those that aren't there yet, I like to tell everyone's in the luxury area. You might not be where Rick Ross or a multimillionaire is, but that doesn't mean that your life isn't still luxury. And that's why, my favorite quote is to say that luxury is the art, or what is it? Opulence. Luxury is the art of being rather than seeming to be. And so to me, if you're living a life where you're completely satisfied, your goals are fulfilled and you're at peace and you're happy, that's luxury. There is no price tag on luxury. That luxury is what you claim it to be. Luxury is you living out of an RV if that's what you want to do, and no one else can tell you, hey, you need to change your lifestyle. So That's, I know it's kind of a rant, but yeah, that's pretty much the only way that I can sum it all up.
I love the way that you put that, because I think a lot of times when people think about luxury, they do think about high ticket um, prices, right? It's always the higher end of X. And one of the things that, you know, my parents used to tell us when we were little, that there's always somebody that has more than you. We had a
Right,
lot, but
right.
there's always somebody that has more than you. So you got to be content where you are and with what you have. And if you want to grow that, grow it, right? But
Exactly,
you got to at least
exactly.
be content with what you have first. So I appreciate that stance. I want to dig a little bit more into real estate, because y'all, if you're not following Jay on LinkedIn, you're crazy. He puts out the most incredible amount of free information for a lot of us who are thinking about financial stability, financial literacy when it comes to investing in real estate. And so there's a lot of people that's sitting on gold when it comes to real estate. But the information that you're putting out about the market, which is, you know, sometimes I'm looking at like, does he know, like, is this for free? There's no
Yeah, it's free.
subscription, right? There's
It's
just, you're
free.
just pushing out information. So when you think about like how do you, you know, reaching out to those who are not in the luxury market, how do you maintain that kind of network? How do you build that kind of network?
Well, so for me, I've always felt that everyone is always chasing the next best thing because that's how we grow, right? And I don't mean that in a material sense. I mean that if you are making $75,000 a year, you're probably a person who is thinking, how can I be making 100,000 a year? Or maybe you're
Yeah.
making 75,000 a year working, and you're wanting to know how can you make that 75,000 while working half the time that you work now. And so for me, I always try to use the luxury space and the experiences that I've gained through real estate to inspire people that these things are not out of reach. And so just pretty much not only carrying myself as someone who's been in that space, who's seen and interact in that space on a regular, but being able to let them know that no matter what you're looking for, you can always shoot for something bigger and actually achieve that. But if you downplay yourself, I can't be the person to talk you into changing the way that you think. So
Mm,
I'm more so broadcast for those people who are already there, and hopefully it's a gear shift for the people that aren't thinking, hey, this is something that's actually doable. And so that's why I try to market. I might market something that has to do with the more affluent community, and then turn around and market something that has to do with the first time homebuyer community, because even though they're at different points in their life, everyone knows life is a marathon
yeah.
and not a sprint. So in order to get to the finish line, you got to start the race. And that's my main initiative.
It also makes you relatable. So for me, I was thinking about if I'm a first time home buyer, even if I'm not, you know, even if I'm not in the luxury market, it makes you someone who is easily somebody who I could have a conversation with. You know, it just opens up the conversation to a lot of folks who, like I said, sometimes we, you know, we are on our fifth house. We're on house number 5. So we've been around, my husband and I, for many years, 22 years married this year, moved a lot. We've
Wow.
done a lot. We've been
Congratulations.
very, very blessed. Thank you. We've been very, very blessed. And that home buying cycle is still stressful if you whether you're on 1 or 20. So I definitely want to. I dropped the link to your LinkedIn in the chat, and I hope folks will please follow Jay, because there's a lot, again, free information. And I think what makes you stand out is that, again, you're approachable, you're relatable, and you send out so much really good context, such good information, so that we can
I
all get
appreciate it.
educated on the market in Charlotte, which I love Charlotte. So shout out to Charlotte. No,
I
shout out to Charlotte.
appreciate it. I'm gonna just go
Yeah.
ahead and drop a disclaimer though, man. I'm a goofball. I'm very professional. I know how to handle myself professionally, but don't reach out to work with me if you don't like handling somebody that's funny, because I feel like the best, like you said, the real estate transaction or the real estate process as a whole is stressful, man. You got to get
Yeah,
ready to move. You got to move a lot of money. So it's not something that's easy. And my coping mechanism is laughing. So I like to
yeah,
make a joke out of things that typically would make someone else feel frustrated. I'm not saying it to undermine that
yeah.
the situation isn't serious. I'm saying it to say, one, it could be a whole lot worse, but two, life is short, man. You gotta laugh. So if you're working with me, just know we're gonna have fun. It's gonna be a fun
Exactly.
process.
Yeah, I don't want to work with a stress. If my realtor is stressed out, I'm stressed out. What point is
Right,
that?
right.
We don't want that. We don't want that at all. So I want to touch on there was an article that you shared today. It was the myth about USDA home loans, and the reason, and you don't need to dig into the article. The reason it came up, I was thinking about the housing market like right now, and I wonder if there's any tips or anything you can share with folks that might catch the replay also. What are maybe some of the things that you're seeing that buyers should be aware of, or anything that you see on your radar?
So what I'm seeing right now currently, as a whole, we are still not where we want to be with inventory. Part of that is because of where the builders are. Part of that is because of where sellers are. But in all, where the state of the market is heading is we're heading towards a market correction. A few people have thought that we were headed towards a market crash, and we are nowhere near a crash. So for anyone that's wondering, a crash, which was what happened in 2008, is when pretty much home values are plummeting, values are going down. If you have a home, you can't sell it for as much as you paid for it. Actually, you're selling it for less than you paid for it. Right now, what we're seeing is the come back to reality moment, because about 10 to 12 months ago, the market was on fire. You could
Yeah,
put a home on the market at $300,000 and it would sell for probably 370, probably 400,000. I actually had a listing at 1.2 million and it sold at 1.6. So
wow.
that was the type of market that we were seeing at the time. And so now what's happening is the interest rates have gone back up. So there's not as many buyers as there were when interest rates were 2%, right? A lot of people have chosen that they would rather keep their house because they bought their house when they had about a 4 or 5% interest rate. So to sell that house and to move into a new one means they're getting a new interest rate. They're spending that money. The payments are probably going up. And those are
Yeah.
just things that people aren't wanting to deal with. So in all, I think that where the market is right now is actually where we're starting to see it stabilize. I guess it is a better way of wording it. Um,
Okay.
and then to highlight, like the USDA loan, that actually came up because I have a few people who are looking to move into the Charlotte area. But as you can see, Charlotte is a very hot spot to be at. So the market there is, pretty high itself. And the USDA link was to let people know that there are alternatives as far as affordability and where you're moving to. So some people may not want to move to the city because the city is not only congested, but prices are higher there. So they may be thinking of moving to the outskirts. Well, there is an opportunity for you to move to the outskirts of the city and have something to use, such as the USDA loan, which gives you an opportunity to buy with no money down, and a ton of other benefits within itself. So that's where that post came from, or that article.
Thank you for sharing that. And again, like I said, there's so much information that you're sharing that, again, just urging everybody to make sure you follow Jay on LinkedIn. You can go check out his website. There's a lot of really good information. Even if I find that even if you're not looking for a home within his area, follow him anyway, because there's just so much good stuff that's coming out that, again, y'all need to get it together and follow Jay if you want to learn anything about real estate. So I wanted to talk about youth leadership and mentorship, and specifically about a program you mentioned. I
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
dig into that a little bit more. So I'm going
Let's
to take the
dig.
reins off. Can you tell us what is this? What is this program you referenced a little bit earlier? What is this? What is this group here? What is this thing you're doing?
So I have a organization that I am working on expanding called Lift the World. It is an organization where I am striving to pretty much educate and inform our youth about the value of trade skills and the value of financial literacy as a whole. And this was brought, I don't know, this kind of desire that I had to reach out and help, shape our youth came from, the loss of a very valuable friend of mine I actually met in the service. And upon a conversation that I had with some friends, while we were grieving over him, his name was Freddie. Um, it seemed that so many people in our youth think that there are only so many ways as young Black children, whether it be males or females, that there are only so many ways to be successful. And
Yeah.
my biggest point was to help stress that there are tons of other ways, but we have to be willing to educate ourselves on those ways and then grow those ways. So that was where Lift the World, created. That was when Lift the World was created.
I love that. So I do have a lot of friends in the financial literacy space. That list has been growing. So we're growing our friends of Pi
I
community.
love it.
And yeah, and so I want to, not even embarrassingly, but shout out a couple, Derek Wesley, who I'm sure I'll be tagging after this, and he does watch
Yo,
these
shout
shows.
out Derek. Major
Derek
shout out to
is
Derek West.
amazing.
Shout out to Derek for
Okay.
sure.
Derek is like, I feel like he knows everybody, but Derek Wesley is one of those gentlemen that just is leading the pack with financial literacy. He has an app called Seedling, but he also has a lot of a connecting of the dots to other leaders who are, trying to align financial literacy into their, whether it's a profit or nonprofit program. So I hope that there is a partnership when it comes to creating, a way to educate any of the participants in Lift the World Inc. so that they have access to that information. Because I'm big on access and affordability, right?
Right.
So if we
I
can
love it.
open up the access, yeah, then definitely want to see that your students, your clients and everybody is getting access to that. So hopefully we'll be able to see something in the new year, within the organization. So Derek, I'm just selfishly calling out another. I'm just setting it out there, just so you know. This is what happened on the live. I mean, live. Sorry, my bad. So, all right. So when you think about, like, I want to shift to, like, why you do what you do. I feel like a lot of folks who to me, you're what success looks like, and from the
Oh man,
outset,
I appreciate it.
from the outset, I think a lot, and I see this a lot on these shows, that successful people will stand on the outside and look at you and assume that it was such an easy journey, or oh, he just did that, or like they don't understand some of the sacrifice that it takes to get to the level where you are and where you're even going. So when you're thinking about your purpose and the why behind what you do, your values and all that stuff, can you share a little bit about your purpose? Like, why in the world? Because you had so many other options that you could have done. Why do you do what you do? Like, what is your purpose? How did you get to that?
That is actually a great question. And I actually hadn't thought about that until I sat with a group of realtors and that question kind of came up. And for me, I realized that um it's funny, and I don't want to sound cliche, but this is why I put it in my LinkedIn bio. The choices we make today impact our tomorrow. And so pretty much when you do something today, it may not have the effects that you want to see today. It may not happen tomorrow. It may not happen next week. But at some point in time, the seeds that you sow will eventually bloom. And so for me, um, I grew up as that kid who didn't have anyone to tell me, hey, these are some of the options that you have. You know, I was a good kid in school. I made great grades. I was a knucklehead. I won't sit here and act like I wasn't that guy, but I didn't have someone to tell me that when life got serious, these were the things that were going to matter. And so I ended up putting my value in the wrong things. I didn't understand how to develop a proper relationship with money. And overall, I started to make some decisions that led me to say, hey, I got to turn this thing around. And that was where I ended up joining the military. Once I joined the military, that was when my life changed, because not only was I able to afford the mistakes that I made, but I was able to learn and surround myself with people who were doing it right. And so once I was able to see better, you know, they say once you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
And once I was able to see it, I kind of realized like, hey man, all of the time, all of the people that I hung with that I thought were cool and, you know, were doing the knucklehead thing and being rebellious was cool. I started to realize like, you know, you guys are pretty limited with what you can do, but if I am to, you know, put a little bit of discipline into what I'm doing, put some consistency behind what I'm doing, this is what I can accomplish. I'd much rather go this way. And so why I do what I do is pretty much because every day that I look at myself in the mirror, I see the young me, and I still sit back and wish that I had someone back then, because now I know what I know. So I feel like, man, if I knew what I know now at 15 or 16, would I be here? Would I have made the same decisions? But in hindsight, I also can't think about the past to the point that I dwell or regret the decisions that I made. So in all, the whole objective is to stay busy, keep moving forward, and give out the free game, because you never know. There are plenty of people who are looking for the information that I give out and they don't know where to find it. I find myself doing that to this day. I look for information on a ton of different topics and sometimes I don't know where to go. And it's helpful to just be walking down the street one day and find exactly what you're looking for, and it can really change your life. So I feel like that's how I will leave my impact in the world, is just by being that light for whoever's looking for it.
Wow, I love that. You know, I think with the thing that I also enjoy about you the most is your self-awareness. Everybody has a different journey, but you have to be self-aware. And the fact that you were able to stop and say, this isn't the path that's going to work for me, y'all.
Right.
I'm changing it up, right? That you're aware enough to be able to do that. And I wonder, when you think about your own family, you know, what are some of the things that you're, you know, as a dad, what are some of the things that you're sharing as you're planting those seeds? Right? What are some of the things, or maybe some of the lessons that you're planting now?
So for me, it's a little bit more of a challenge because my son and daughter are only 6 and 5. So we are at the very beginning where comprehension is coming into the picture, but it's not quite there yet. And so for me, it's a challenge because I'm still learning, right? And as I'm learning, I'm teaching. But the way that I learn it, I can't teach it to a 5 or a 6 year old. So I have to learn how to gain the information and then relay the information in a manner where anyone can understand it, whether I'm teaching it to a 5 or 6 year old, or 15 and 16 year old, or a 25 and 26 year old, right? So what I'm teaching my kids right now is pretty much to build on discipline and the consistency, because they don't get to access money. Like we've got they're not monopoly dollars, but they're like little fake dollar bills. They look real, but they've got like stamps on them, so you know they're not real dollar bills. And I try to instill in my kids, you know, don't trade your time for money. The thing with the money is, what are you doing with the money once you've gotten it, right? Because your money can work for you. And we haven't really gotten there yet, right? But it's a work in progress. And that's the beautiful part of it, is that as long as I continue, and this is where I get to work on myself, because as
Yeah.
long as I'm consistent with it, they'll learn to be consistent with it. And then the discipline will become a cultural thing and not a situational thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I was sitting here thinking about networking and connecting. And so y'all, I met Jay through LinkedIn. And again, this is one of those, like, you have to know
Yeah.
when to connect. There's sometimes when you don't, but I connect to anybody. Honestly, I connect to anybody that'll reach out. And if it goes right into a sales pitch, then I'll just politely say, I'm not looking to buy anything. You know what I mean? It happens. Like, it's a business platform, right? But there are just some people that when you connect, it's just a different connection. And so I wanted to talk about, like, you know, how do you manage, like, those types of relationships? How do you keep those relationships when you're networking, because you're meeting a lot of people in your field? How do you filter through and manage your relationships?
Man, so believe it or not, I was watching a stand-up comedian one day, and he was talking about how in relationships, in dating relationships, um, sometimes things go south and you guys have to part ways. But he said something that stood out to me. He said, sometimes you meet people where you're supposed to meet them at because you're at that level in your life. And
Yeah.
so I try to pretty much make sure that when I meet with someone, I gauge the conversation. So if we meet at a business event, 10 times out of 10, we're going to have a business relationship, right? It's not too common that you meet someone at a networking event and they end up being someone that you tell to come over just to come watch the game on weekends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's been a process of pretty much just keeping everyone at the level that I've met them at. And then if we're able to interact further than that, or if, conversation comes up and you end up telling me, hey, man, I'm thinking about selling my house. My ex-wife is getting on my nerves, yada, yada. Like, okay, now we're kind of building that relationship to where we can lean over more into the personal category. But it's been a learning process as well, because I'm naturally a giving person, and so I try to befriend everyone, but
Yeah.
not all energies mix. If
Yes.
if you know what I mean. So sometimes you got to kind of keep people where they're at, and some people aren't necessarily genuine. A lot of people are great at sales, but they aren't great as people. You know what I mean? So when a
Yeah.
person does reach out to you, they might have the most manners in the world, but they're not necessarily reaching out because they're sincerely concerned about you. They're reaching out because they have an objective to meet or they have a quota to meet. You know what I mean? So you got to know how to look out for the sharks. But all in all, like I said, it's all for me being so young as a professional. Everything is a learning process, and even though I am where I am today, I'm still learning, and that's where the goal is. When you realize that you still have to learn, no matter how far you get. So, it's a few people that I probably left on red that were, actually trying to connect, and it's probably a few people that I responded to, and then I end up finding out that they want me to go schedule an appointment on their Calendly link. So, I mean, it's a learning
Right.
curve, right?
Yeah. That's so true. And you have to be careful. I'm very mindful of the ways that I don't shut people down, but I'm very careful in my response, because what
Yeah,
I don't want anyone to leave an interaction with me and feel like she was terrible or she could have said that
yeah,
different, right? That's not how I don't want to be treated that way either. So I'm usually pretty polite. But it, sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. And if it don't, you gotta let it go, honey. I'm not trying to get
exactly.
wrinkles. You
Man,
gotta
if
let
it
it
does,
go.
you have to do what you have to do sometimes. But
Yes.
I'm sure I got a couple people that were genuinely trying to be a friend, and I'm like, bro, I do not want to buy anything that you're selling right now. Do you want to buy a house? As a matter of fact.
Right. Right. Are you gonna buy a book or a class or something? Because I don't have time for that. Go to my
Man.
website. I can't help you out right now. Oh my God. So when you think of, like, where you want to go, where do you want to go with your career? You're an entrepreneur. So where do you see yourself as you're building out your own enterprise?
Man, on the top of the world, honestly. And if anyone in entrepreneurship or in business thinks otherwise or thinks that that's crazy,
Yeah, you're
you
not
probably
built for
shouldn't be
it.
in business, right? Because that's the way that you should be thinking. You should be thinking that you want to shut down and be the head honcho in whatever industry you're in, and that's honestly where
Yes.
I see myself. But I don't see myself as the best realtor in the world. I do want to
Yeah.
be one of the most respected realtors, but I'm actually in real estate because I want to be one of the most prestigious home builders. That's actually what I wanted to get into.
Wow.
So I've had this fascination to live on a beach somewhere fancy in a nice house, and usually those houses cost tens of millions of dollars. And it hit me one day that instead of buying someone else's house, I could build my own. And my house would be so beautiful and so
Wow.
majestic that someone would see it and say, "Hey, I want one of those." And I could tell them, "Okay, well, let's schedule an appointment and we can figure out what can we do for you." And that's where I honestly see myself taking my business. And so I'm pretty sure I got a little ways to go. But in all, like I said, to see myself there, if you were to ask me, that's definitely the answer.
Well, I
And
can
I
see
would
it.
hope that anyone I ask, they see themselves up there. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. I mean, I think that's the one thing, with being a visionary as well, right? I mean, the things that I see and where I see my business going, even to my husband, I can't really explain it because it's my vision. The vision was given to
Right,
me,
right.
right? I have to be able to articulate it. But even sometimes I think if I say it out loud, do I sound as
It's
crazy
gonna
as this
sound
thing
crazy.
sounds? Right? Like if I say what I think this is going, well, people think I'm nuts. And there's a competitive nature that we have. I don't want to do anything the way anybody else does. I mean, I literally I just run from that. So anything that I'm doing, how is that different from what Joe, Bob, Sarah, everybody else doing? I don't want to be in the cool club. I want to do my club.
Exactly.
Y'all follow
Come to
me. I'm
my
not following
club.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta follow Pi. Pi ain't gonna follow you.
There you go. Yeah. There you
you
go.
know. So yeah. So even in the way like we think about, yeah, the approach, and then being in a supportive circle of people who are like-minded, and all the resources, all of the connections, they show up. It's all the time. Y'all know I'm very spiritual, so I'll go ahead and just put that out there. But everything is happening, in a click, but it's happening. It's all like the perfect timing. And so I can see the seeds as I step back to say, of course you're going to have that house. I can see
Of
it. I know
course.
I'm going to be
Yes.
there. Of
Of
course, you build
course.
mine.
Exactly. You got to speak it into existence, man. People
Gotta
might not
speak it.
believe it. I'm spiritual just as much. So I'm a firm believer that, there's a rhythm to the universe, and when
Yes.
you do what you're supposed to do, man, that's how harmony becomes, it comes into play. So
It just flows. The energy, it flows together. Everything just picks up and it moves faster than you might, oh my,
right.
where did Jay come from? We didn't even know this guy a year ago, right? Well, you missed me, honey. I was
Right. Hey, you got to be able to dance, keep up with the music. Like I said, it's a rhythm to the universe. If you can't dance, you're gonna have to sit down.
exactly. You got to know how to play this one out. Oh my God. So, all right. So I wanted to find out like what kinds of tips, or anything that you can share to folks who maybe they're either coming up in architecture, and this is what's also so crazy, Jay, because so my parents are no longer around. My dad, in Jamaica, my brother's an architect. My
No
dad
kidding.
had it, like it just literally just came in my head. I'm like, wait, that's
You
right.
see, that's that
So
rhythm.
yeah, that's the rhythm. So he had a construction company. And by the way, he was a full-on businessman and had a job and had bar and had real estate, had a lot of stuff. We're Jamaicans, you got to have a lot. You got to keep it. He had a lot. And so it just literally came to me because as I was thinking about, legacy and what do you do? He was well known for buying, building, and taking care of people, and they never knew it. He would, there's like a joke that he was like he built this woman a house, and she didn't even know it was his. Finally find out, and people they figured this out. But that's where the giving kind of came from, and as much as he gave, he got it back, and that spirit is in our family. There's 5 of us kids. So and that's the picture of the gentleman that y'all see. That's my dad staring at me down my neck on the wall. But
Bless
as
you,
we were
Dad.
talking about, yeah. So as you were talking about that, it literally just came to me like, yeah, I can. Maybe that's why I can see it, because I've seen it happen. So yes, of course, it's absolutely. You just have to receive it, and it's yours, right?
Amen. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I told y'all church was gonna happen.
Don't take it to church now. Don't take us to church now.
I told y'all it's going down. Oh my gosh. All right, so we have a few more minutes, and I wanted to ask you on P.I.E, because we try to end on like what you're most proud of, or what you're inspired by, or what you feel empowered to do. So I'm just gonna throw that to you. I know I'm very proud. I'm ridiculously inspired, and I feel really empowered by you, because I needed this. I needed this back in my own self to hear that things are still possible, still plant the seeds, and it will come. So I appreciate that. So I wanted to ask from you, what are you proud of, or maybe you're inspired by something, or you feel empowered to do?
So I'm inspired every day by those people who are brave enough to tell their success stories, and they are honest enough to admit that they started from nothing just as much as I did. And that inspiration has driven me to be able to say what I'm most proud of, which is this year I've exceeded last year's sales volume by was it $1 million? I've exceeded last year's sales by $1 million, over $1 million.
Wow.
Actually, I don't know the specifics, but and so yeah, those types of stories and inspiration. If you're going through anything, I will be the first person and the loudest person to say, do not be ashamed to tell someone where you came from. Do not be ashamed to brag on yourself, even if you're not where you want to be. Look at where you are now and where you started, because you don't know who you will inspire just from admitting what you went through. A lot of people are afraid to step out into the world because they're too worried that they'll be ostracized or, judged about where they come from. But every one of us has a story. Every one of us comes from somewhere. And I think that that's the most valuable thing that you can do, is be that testimony and let others know that anything's possible.
I love that. Oh, that was from me, y'all. That was okay. I heard you.
Receive it. Hey, receive it.
I received that fully, and that you're so true, because again, it goes back to people see the end of the journey, and they don't understand what happened in between. But quite frankly, a lot of us aren't saying it because we're busy putting up, Instagram pictures of how beautiful we are at our last event,
right,
without explaining that to get to this event, I had to go through some things, right? And being willing to share that. So that's definitely, I'm taking that to heart. And that is words of wisdom from you, Jay. So anything else you wanted to share before we have our after party?
Yeah, man. So as Shelly said, you guys can find anything that you want to know about me or about real estate in general. You can catch me on LinkedIn, Jay Just Listed Statham, or you can find me on my website, justlisted.com. It's spelled JAHST listed, LISTED.com. And if you have any questions, send me an email, info@justlisted.com. And then other than that, like I said, man, reach out to me. I'm a person, guys. So I'm not one of those people that doesn't answer my inbox unless you send me a Calendly link. Then I'm probably gonna look at you crazy. But other than that, man, I'm here to help however I can. I'm here to bridge that gap, and it's more than just real estate. So whatever you're looking for, if I don't have it, I know somebody that does, and if I don't know somebody that does, I know how to find the person that does. So
exactly. Between us, we're gonna figure it out.
there you go. That's all
We
you
will
need.
figure it out. That's all you need. This has been so incredible. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, I needed this for my soul. So, so anybody who caught the live, or for those of y'all who are watching the replay again, please connect with us.
Major shout out and thank you to everybody that tuned in live. I'm sorry to
Yes.
cut you off, but yes,
Oh
that's
no,
major
yeah. I know
support.
there's
You
folks.
guys got to keep checking out the Slice of Pie show, because this show has given me the confidence to keep going and do what I'm doing, and I know that it's inspiring a few other people, if not the world, and those that are watching. So thank you, Shelly. I'm giving you your flowers because you definitely deserve a bouquet for yourself. This is an amazing opportunity. And I hope that those of you guys that are watching get the opportunity to come on the network, man. I had a ball this time and the last time. I'm hoping we can do it again. I can't wait to do it in person.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking.
I think we should do it in person. I'm doing it in person because I need to see my dream house.
Let's go. Let's set it up.
I'm just gonna put it out. Tyron,
I'm gonna send you
Jay,
my
Calendly
Calendly
link. Take us to our dream house. You have to send me that. Tyron, we're gonna see our dream house. Jay gonna show it to us. That's my husband.
I'm gonna send y'all my Calendly link.
Yes. Oh, I love this. Thank you so much. So don't hang up. We're gonna end the broadcast and go to our after party. I keep joking, like at the after parties where Beyonce and Oprah hang out with us. These people don't know because they're not invited. Mm-hmm.
I got them backstage. I sent them the link on LinkedIn. Yeah, they're waiting on that.
I got the Beehive Calendar link, so she's waiting. Well, they're gonna attack us on Twitter. Please don't attack me, y'all. I'm just playing.
You might have started something there.
I know. Please don't come for me, Beehive. I love her. All right, we're gonna see y'all later. Hang out, Jay, and we're gonna tell these folks deuces.